to implement a flat tax rate across the board for all property classifications in town. This vote is on file in our meeting minutes. It has been posted that our board may be attending the classification hearing on Monday, December 7th in the conference room. Once this public hearing on the issue of adopting this has been accepted by the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Assessors will proceed in submitting the tax rate recap sheet to the Department of Revenue in order to get the town's tax rate set. Now, I believe there's 4 classifications, there's residential.
The lowest residential, the lowest residential factor, which would be the maximum shift to business.
Right.
Assessors probably can maybe discuss why they're not recommending that. It is ultimately the selectmen's decision.
Right.
Although
it's our decision.
Yes.
Now, if we approve this tonight,
you set the tax rate. The tax rate will be set tonight. The tax recap is ready to go. It'll be submitted tomorrow and then certified by the DOR.
so do we anticipate a short turnaround time with DOR?
Oh, yeah, it'll happen quickly. I mean, technically, they establish the tax rate, but
Right, yeah,
we're
based on the recap.
We're pretty much wrapped up with them. If you adopt a single rate or a split rate tonight, the recap data sits in the computer. It will be sent to them electronically tomorrow, and then they'll certify.
All right. Any other, Julie?
Did you have a comment, Jeff? I thought you might have a comment on what Mr. Markle was trying to explain to us.
Fred Henshaw, Board of Assessors.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard Jeff speak out back, so I was just curious if he had
Do you have
anything.
anything to add, Mr. Henshaw?
We're not going to set the rate tonight.
Right,
We're
okay.
just going to recommend
Right.
one level classification for all properties, as we always have,
Right.
as is only fair. If you don't think so, talk to people in Worcester, see what their business has done.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, we've always had a
Right.
single rate.
We always
That
have.
is correct?
So that's what our recommendation is, our strong recommendation. And I can't tell you that we're setting the rate tonight because we're not. That's just, it has to go to Boston.
Right.
Whether it's electronically in 30 seconds, but it's not tonight. And they have to approve it, and it'll come back. And they'll say, yes, you can, or no, you can't. All we're doing is just saying one rate for all classes of property. And that's what we recommend, and
All right.
that's what should happen.
Does anybody else have any comments?
I make a motion to approve a flat tax rate.
We have to post the hearing first.
We have to, oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's why I'm asking, any other discussion? If not,
Thank you.
seeing nothing, we will, I will declare the hearing closed, and now we will ask for a motion.
Okey-doke. I make a motion to approve a flat tax rate across the board for all property classifications in the town of Templeton.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt a single
I need to sign that for the
flat
land.
tax rate for all classifications. Anything else, any further discussion? Hearing none. Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes,
I will vote yes, and thank you for coming, Mr. Henshaw.
Thank you for considering.
thank you.
All right, here we go. Okay, we have proposed job descriptions, which I think we had looked at once before. Bob, you want to?
Yeah, there's been some subsequent discussion of this, but I've asked the board to consider changing some job descriptions to reflect the reality in the Board of Selectmen's office. That reality is that our person who is an administrative assistant has devoted most of her time to HR, which is certainly an important need of the town. I think we've all seen instances where if we don't do the HR function correctly, the town can get into trouble, lawsuits can result, and it can be costly to the taxpayers. HR is complicated. In fact, it's more complicated every year with state and federal regulations, as well as local union contracts that we must abide by. Moreover, those regulations change, they evolve, and we have a statewide personnel administration organization that exists in order to keep towns up to date on current law and regulation and what is required of them. And so, since that is the reality now, and I think it's a positive step, I've suggested that we revise the title for the administrative assistant. Also, as you can see on a regular basis, the work of the administrator in the office is shared. And, for example, all the liquor licensing activity is done by Holly. Also, the competitive bidding. I mean, I'm technically the purchasing agent by law of the town, and I open the bids, but all the preliminary work is done by Holly. And this is not unusual. In fact, it's common practice that you divide responsibilities because the other work that I have to do is very time-consuming. And it makes simple sense to do that. The other, I think, very important principle for the town's future is that we need stability. I believe that we need stability as well as some authority for when the administrator isn't here or when the Board of Selectmen change. If we look carefully at how the town got into financial difficulties, I think it's directly related to the fact that we didn't have offices, we didn't have incumbents in some of the key offices, and we had high turnover among those who were appointed to those offices, and so things didn't get done. Record keeping, as we know, was chaotic, and now we're paying the price for that. It'll be somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000. And so I think that in those instances where the select board changes and where, I mean, the reality is that your town administrator position is one that tends to have some regular amount of turnover. And as you know, it takes some time before you can hire a new one. Typically, most communities will spend 3, 4, 5 months when there's no one in the chair and where there's a hiring process underway. And then person coming in has to start over again and become grounded in how the government works, what the issues are, and so forth. And so having someone in the office for a longer period of time, and the pattern is, as I said, assistant town administrators tend to stay. They don't tend to come and go. And they tend to be, you know, a basis of institutional information and memory for the organization. So I think for a whole variety of reasons, I've recommended these changes. I know, having spoken to some of you individually, that you have some issues and concerns, and you know, I think it's something, at a bare minimum, we should talk about and maybe come to some kind of decision at some point. So.
Now, what exactly is it you're proposing?
I'm proposing
Are you changing job titles? Are you changing
job descriptions and titles.
titles?
But descriptions, basically, the descriptions will reflect the reality of what the two individuals, the legal assistant and the administrative assistant, are doing. I mean, the reality of the job that they are currently doing. And those descriptions right now are really way off the mark in terms of what actually happens in the office. So, and then I'm suggesting changes in the title. Now, I think we have a couple of issues to deal with there that have been brought to my attention, and perhaps we should talk more about those. But and one of the questions is that one of the members of the board brought to me is that should we consolidate all HR activity in the hands of one individual, or shall we have an individual doing HR who then is supervised by the other person in the office? The job description that I gave to you would provide some supervision of the HR person. That's a legitimate issue to discuss, I think, whether the line should go through an assistant town administrator or should go directly to the town administrator. I guess and frankly, talking with some of you, I think some of you have also wondered if, the chain of command or authority within the organization will work out well. So those are some issues.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about my concerns with it. I do think the HR, because it is a complicated process, I don't think we are big enough that we can really justify having 2 HR specialists. We should have an HR person that goes directly to town administrator. I'm a little concerned with the assistant town administrator because are we just perpetuating too many chiefs? We have too many chiefs now and not enough people to do the work. Everybody thinks they're in charge. So I think adding yet another chief is not going to accomplish anything for us. Little concern too with, a couple of the exact clauses in there. I mean, we can talk about those if you want. But I think there needs to be, some different language, if you will, in the job descriptions. So those are, I don't want to just grow government to grow government. I mean, if we've got a good reason and we're going to do elimination of other things, then yeah, maybe. But if we're just going to grow, I don't see that there's a benefit to us at that. And I don't think we need to make HR, somebody doing, HR contracts, purchasing, licensing, all of that. It's a lot of stuff. And if you get too many things on your plate, it's easy to, miss a detail. So I think an HR person dedicated for HR is the right choice.
Following up on your comment, everybody thinks they're in charge. I couldn't agree more. I think it's a fundamental problem of the organization, and it's not uncommon. And I think as time goes by, what will happen in town, one way or another, is that the town will establish central management of its departments. And that is often what's missing. We have, what do we call them? Some feudal barons or some, fiefdoms. There's a tendency in every organization for particular parts of it to try and pull away and be autonomous and not to be centrally managed. I think the experience that the town has had recently, and I'm sure it'll happen in the future as governing here becomes more complex, is that you got to have somebody in charge. I would argue the same in the finance offices as well, that part of the problem in the recent years is that there hasn't been someone who is, in the absence of a town administrator, who had the authority to say, did this get done? And if not, why not?
Yeah, it's a problem.
And so when it collapses like that, when everybody is autonomous and no one in charge, important things don't happen and don't get done, and I think that's a real problem. So,
Do you mind if I speak to this, John?
Not at all.
Well, I've been working on this for a long
You
time,
have,
so.
you have. You and Alicia have done a lot of work on this.
We have, and really, honestly, gosh, it's been, I don't even know how many months, and I started off doing it on my own, and then it's been so much better working on it with Alicia and Holly, to be honest with you, to be in the office and really bouncing ideas off. I don't get to make decisions because we're a board unanimously, but it really, throughout all the laws and the change of the whole personnel manual, and all of it's changed. There's no way for us to sit in front of you once this happens and say, okay, well, let's look at page 1, and I changed like this and this. We changed all of it. There was some stuff that wasn't enough. There was some stuff that didn't even conform to the law at all. But my whole point is in working through that, I went to Bob several times, and the need to have a true HR person is really evident. The people, an HR person is for the benefit of the employee, whereas most of the rest of the departments are the benefit of the residents and the town. So it really is separate. So to put that together with, and we don't need a director. I'm sorry, we're not large enough to have like that kind of title. A coordinator, I don't believe, me personally, these are all my own opinions, by the way, I don't believe that we need it to be a full-time job. I think it can range anywhere from, 25 to, I think that person should have a little bit of discretion, because you have to sometimes be out of the building, but for the most part, people are gonna come to that person. It has to do with confidentiality, and you can't have a medical thing in the same file as something else. I mean, Alicia, honestly, and I'm speaking about the job description here, but in addition for her, like having to separate all the files, everything that we figured out was wrong, she'd have to go back and fix. So we had already done a job description, so when we got the ones that Bob sent and Holly sent, I kind of just picked up with the one that I left off with, and I picked and chose. I didn't go through the HR director ATA. I honestly believe, too, that an ATA would be very important because, currently, we don't have a full-time TA. So that job description was bunked together.
So people understand what you're talking about?
I'm sorry, an assistant town administrator, and a
Okay.
TA is town administrator. I have to use an Allen, because there's too many.
Okay.
So I took that and I tried to separate it, but it was a PDF file, so I couldn't. So I did one just specifically for Human Resources Coordinator, which I had done a lot of time talking between Bob and Alicia about that. And then I just started going online looking for an assistant town administrator, which is really just a town administrator. Ours isn't here full-time right now, but they spend time in lots of different departments, and you do need that one person who you go to. Holly does lots of stuff, but I don't even know if she gets it all done. But if we're not gonna talk to Bob, then who do you normally go to? It just happens to be Holly, so it's that position. So I believe, and then, they both report to only one person. I don't see the need to have a supervisor over this person, or it's just not necessary. And I don't believe that department needs to grow any more than that either. I mean, unless we have some kind of resident explosive boom, which I personally don't see coming, it should just be two separate jobs. And that they kind of work together, and that's part of your, management team along with finance. So, I mean, I did redo some job descriptions. I'm happy to send them to you. I just couldn't do it because I was still nitpicking them apart today.
I think I agree. I don't see the need to have, in essentially a two-person office, the need for one person to report to the other person.
Right.
To be the buffer between the town administrator.
Right.
And I think, to Doug's comments, I think the question of growing government, I don't think that's what we want to do. What we want to do is make the operation of government more efficient.
Yeah, I don't see these particular jobs as growing government at all. I see
I
it
don't
as
either.
a just, here it is, and that's really, I don't see us expanding anything else. But it also gives each person in that job, whether it be those people or someone else, the opportunity to grow. period, and really affect our organization as a whole. And again, the HR person is specifically for the employee, and yes, they will deal with the public and they have to take on other duties, but it really is for the employee, period. Where there's, everyone else is more for the public, but I don't see it as growing anything at all, and I never saw it that way.
Yeah. No, and I think it's for the employees, but it's also to ensure that the town is meeting its legal obligations.
Exactly, that too, yep.
I have my back to you, will you,
I'm just listening to the
Okay.
conversation
all
quietly.
right?
Where are we gonna locate this human resource person?
It's already being done in the
How
selectmen's
private is
office.
that for your
It's not
employees of the
currently,
town?
but they meet
It's
in here.
That's another issue.
It is another issue that has to be
It's an extreme issue. I've
addressed.
seen so many times walking in and out. The confidential has to be confidential.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be trained very well to make sure that that's being implemented in any kind of situation, state, local, you know. And the
Without
space,
making decisions
you know.
on this, we cannot move ahead with a personnel manual. We can't, because it's all integral and it all goes together. And you can't, personally, you can't teach confidentiality. Either you have it or you don't. That's my opinion. That person,
Right.
any person, it really throughout our entire organization should have
concerns. Then there are definitely
confidentiality, but you can't
concerns.
really, but again, it's law and it's, that person would have to anticipate some things and really be heavily involved and always looking and, so, the essential job functions for that is critical. Both jobs, to
I
be
agree.
honest with you, both.
All right, so, make sure you have,
I have a different
Job
job
description
description and
that's
I can
different
send you,
than-
yep, I do,
okay.
I do.
I think it'd be helpful if we
Yeah,
had the
I-
opportunity to look at that before we make any
Right.
decisions on.
I think it would be hard to make a decision now anyway, because we just really got them and we had to review them and we had to figure out, do we want to do this, do we, but I can send you the one that I've done completely, but the assistant town administrator, I have not finished yet, but I can work on that.
All right, why don't you do that, and, because I think it'd be helpful
Okay,
to
happy to do that.
maybe, highlight the
Yep.
differences and
Yep,
see what it is we want to do.
okay.
Doug, you?
Yep, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
Yep.
So,
Can you continue?
we don't, I don't think we have nothing we take a vote on. Can we put this back on the first January meeting, and hopefully we'll have more information by then?
Okay, great.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, Selectmen's comments? Have anything you want to say?
Yeah, tomorrow's voting day, so I hope that everyone comes out. Your voice counts. Doesn't matter whether it's yay or nay, it's the fact that you're there. The other thing is that the annual tree lighting and the Jack Frost Festival, unfortunately, I didn't get to go to all of it. I didn't get to push the button to light the tree, but it was, everyone I've talked to, it has just been, it's really a good event for our town. It's just a great way to kick off the holiday season, no matter how you celebrate. So I really appreciate everybody who gets involved to put that together. So,
Doug?
Yeah, I agree. The Jack Frost, I spent about an hour and a half there. It was a good event. Everybody was having fun. It was nice that it was a beautiful day too.
Yeah.
That really helped. But yeah, it was a good event and I liked it a lot.
Julie?
I agree, much appreciated, everyone that gets involved in that.
So
For the
fun.
community, it's so exciting. Unfortunately, I was out of town for the weekend, but I did get plenty of compliments today in regards to all the activities for the weekend. So thank you to everyone that was involved in all of that.
And talking with, Brian from Historical Society, they'd like to expand the event, get more organizations and groups to participate, so there's more activities for people to do, get different groups, additional groups to be in the parade, those kinds of things. So, need to think about, or as you talk to people, think about, participation next year.
Yeah, I would just like to add my thanks to, if you stop and think about it, there were so many people that were involved in making the Historical Society and Brian Tangway. Alan Mayo did a great job of coordinating everything. We had the high school band, we had
The electric company.
the class of, was it 2018, that had the function at the church, which was
Yeah,
very nice.
that was really nice too.
Yeah, so I hope that we can
Yeah.
make it even bigger and better as time goes by. All right, so we are, any further business?
I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, we have a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And I will vote yes, we are adjourned. And